Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Rugby Scoop podcast. It is 2026, January 2026. Plenty to get through today. Big coaching news coming out of New Zealand, obviously. Everyone has been talking about this for the past week. Player unrest. We're going to cover European competition. South African teams flying the flag high. I've got the usual, the crew. The crew with banger takes. Banger takes. Vickers, Miranda, Vuyozanga, former Blitzbokker, Jade Craig out there in Bloemfontein in the Free State. Hugh Griffin out there at the rugby stadium, probably watching Bristol and UBB at the moment. Anyway, gents, how are things going? Vickers, I'm going to start off with you. How was the weekend? How has your week been so far? Vickers, are you there? Testing. 1, 2, 3.
I think Vickers is being interviewed by New Zealand Rugby Union.
Probably. Jade, how's it going? Warm by the bloem?
Ja, it's warm, but not as hot as it's in heated as in Aotearoa. I'm still getting over the shock. Good news, bad news. I don't know what we call it, but yeah, I'm still getting over the shock and still everybody's lips. Still getting to it later, but yeah, that's where all my attention has been this week, you know.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Griffin, how's it going? Are you at the stadium?
How's it, guys? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I'm here in Northampton in the stadium. That music you can hear in the background is stadium music. I'm not sure how long I'll be able to stick with you today. I'm here doing press for Northampton Saints versus the Scarlets. But
yes.
If you want any hot takes on Northern Hemisphere action, ask them early.
Ask them early. We'll do that. Figures, I see you are back online. Let's wait for you to connect, maybe 2 or 3 seconds. Guys, like I said, as usual, we're covering the news, making headlines this past week, and then we'll be covering a lot of the Investec Championship as well. And obviously looking at Clayton McMillan with Munster. What is going on over there? He is 0-4 currently. Vickers, are you here? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, bro. Sorry, guys. I just traveled to...
load shedding.
Why in South Africa?
You are in South Africa, definitely. That is why you are on and off at the moment.
Yeah, I'm currently in South Africa. I haven't left yet.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, let's get the show on the road. Like I said, lots to talk about. So let's start off with the news. Jean Klein, Jade, moving to Gloucester. He's been one guy who has been at Munster for several years now. One point he was representing Ireland. The next minute he's representing the Springboks. What can we say about Jean Klein, man, and his movement within the Europe? Why is no one in South Africa actually bringing him back to SA? Because I know the Stormers have the coffers, Sharks have the coffers, but he seems to be settled in the UK.
Maybe there was, maybe somebody did approach him, because I think it'd be perfect and ideal situation to bring him back. I mean, he's got experience and he's a World Cup winner. He's played for Munster. He's played for Ireland. So I don't know why. Maybe it's just he's comfortable that side of the world. Maybe he's just sitting up there with his family that side of the world. But yeah, I mean, forgotten man. After the World Cup, actually, Jean Klein actually forgot about him. All of the talent coming through. The she got back to the box setup again. His injury issues at the moment. I think Munster at the moment are settled at locks. I think they've got a few good locks coming through there from what I can see. So yeah, my good move for him going to Gloucester. More running, less defending in England. So yeah, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, and Hugh Griffin, Scarlets appointing Nigel Davis, interim director of rugby. Former world coach back in the mix. What can you share about Nigel at this point, and what are Scarlets actually looking for? I mean, Scarlets have been searching for an identity post Pivac. What's the current situation there?
Oh, look, Scoop, I've got to be careful what I say because the Scarlets coaches are literally in earshot of me right now.
Yeah.
But look, it's not been a great season for the Scarlets so far, and I think bringing in Nigel Davis is a Scarlets man. Scarlets through and through. He's doing it for the love of the game, apparently. And, it's just about bringing a bit of identity back to the team, I think. It's about, they talked a lot in the press conferences about Scarlet's heritage, Scarlet's identity, Scarlet's tradition in the way they play. And that's running rugby, that's backs heavy rugby. So they're hoping to get to that, turn the season around, get a bit of confidence in the boys, getting the boys playing some nice footy, hopefully. So it's going to be a big challenge today. Whether this season is gone or there's still something to play for remains to be seen. If it's not gone, it will be gone very soon, unfortunately. But yeah, just keeping an eye out as him and Dwayne Peel walk towards me literally right now.
All right, all the best there, Griff. And then Jade, Vickers, I don't know if you're still with us. Can you hear us? Are you online? Are you connected?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right, fantastic. Vickers, this one is for you. A lot of chirps, a lot of talk in the past couple of weeks with regards to senior Springboks not motivated enough at provincial level. Hence, we are not seeing the results at URC for some teams and at in this Investec Championship. I mean, what is it about provincial sides? Because if the provincial sides are not performing well enough, but when these guys go and play for the Springboks, they're world beaters. What is it about the provincial sides that's making them not play as well as they do for the Boks? Is it motivation? Is it coaching?
Yeah,
There's so many elements to it.
Yeah, definitely is a lot of elements. I think the most important one is the fact that if we realize the coaching in South Africa has not been great, if I can call it like that. And I think in terms of the motivation, it's easy to get motivated when you have a top coach who's very attentive, who's very driven, motivation. And then when you get to provincial level, there seems not to be a continuation of that national team. So I think at this point, I could say that if that is the case, which is I don't think it is though, I think it's got to do with coaches. No players play for coaches. No players just play rugby. Players play for coaches. And I think it's high time we realize that that's the most important thing for players. And that's why with coaches, you have to make sure that players love you first before they get to the field.
All right, no fair. Jade, I mean, from your side, what have you seen? What are your thoughts regarding this? Because if we, I'm probably going to try and compare it with a New Zealand situation, right? Where people say there's probably not enough talent coming through. That's why New Zealand is struggling, etc., etc. But I mean, at the end of the day, Vickers just put it plain and simple. If the players are not willing to play for the coach, you won't get a performance out of them. So are we saying that at the Sharks currently, at the Bulls currently, at the Lions currently, the coaches are not up to scratch to get those players motivated enough for South African teams to perform at Investec Championship level, at URC level consistently? What's your take on this?
I wouldn't say that it's a coach's thing. I wouldn't really say that they're not motivated, because I believe that these are professional athletes, and I believe they know what's at stake. I just think that the Boks, I think the calendar at the moment, we spoke about it. I think maybe we need to look at that as well. Maybe with the Boks, they're out and out. They know exactly what's at stake with this game. They know exactly in which way forward. They know 3-4 games, and then you have a break over here. Whereas the URC season, we've seen the Boks over the past few years. And the Investec Championship season, not so much, but we've seen the Boks. Once they get into the business stage of the season, once they get into the quarterfinals, or the last rounds of the round robin, you see them picking up their form. So I think it's also that this has to do with the calendar as well. Because for me, also, if you're going to judge a Springbok player now in this period from December to let's say end of January, where these guys have played so much rugby. it's going to be really hard on them. Right? It's going to be hard and harsh on them because we don't know in what state their body is at the moment. We don't know motivational where they are. You don't know mentally where they are because, I mean, you need that mental break as well. So it could be that factor as well, Scoop. For me to say the coaching thing, yeah, I mean, Akkers has had his and Plum has had their crits in the past few years or so. But for me at the moment, I also have to look at the season, overall for the Boks, especially with these UFC players. When do they get into it? Because we have seen the Boks, few of the Boks players at the Sharks a few years ago. The Sharks were nowhere. And later on into the Challenge Cup, they just started to put up their hand and prove that they're Boks and they eventually won it. We've seen it also, with a few other Boks players with the Bulls also as well last year leading into the finals. So it can also be, the calendar and where we are in the season, we will make this judgment because I think some of these Boks players, so they actually missed that, 3 weeks off catching fish in Clifton or so, whatever, then they actually must that. And that could also be a factor. They just get used to this calendar as well.
Yeah, so while we still have you, Griffin, maybe you can also chime in there. Did you get my question earlier?
Yeah, what I feel like I'm hearing the guys say is they need to bring back Sean Everett back to the franchises.
No, not a chance. Not a freaking chance.
Look, part of me, as someone from outside South Africa, when we talk about the depth and the player availability for the franchises, we're talking about the biggest player pool in the world being funneled through 4 teams. It should never really be a question of not having the players. I think it's fair to say that, Dobbo has had ups and downs with the Stormers. It appears to be on the up at the moment. Look, we've done to death the Bulls, we've done to death the Sharks. We know the Lions have limited resources, so we're not looking at many incredible success stories at the franchises for coaching level. I mean, if you ask outside Rassie Erasmus, the best South African head coaches out there at the moment, are you perhaps naming Franco Smith and Johan van Graan above any of the franchise coaches? That's a question. So I think, we talk about bringing players out, and it's always nice to do that. But maybe for the Bulls, for example, would they have been better off bringing Franco Smith, who I believe was open to coming to the Bulls? Might that have been a better solution than, say, spending the money on Andre Pollard and Willie Leroux, where you have to say, are they getting a return on the investment at the moment?
Yeah, no, fair. We seem to be going, or South Africa seems to be going backwards at provincial level. So it's not lack of motivation. Maybe it's just the way. I mean, Mpumelelo has asked this question a few times on the timeline when it comes to attack shape, for example. I mean, if a coach brings in the energy and a bit of excitement as well, that onus also lies on the coach's side to bring the excitement, to bring that motivation. Players get excited when they see new ideas. Players get excited when they see that the energy within the group is also in the same trajectory. Those small little things make a difference in a group environment. So I guess what Rassie has done then with the Springboks, that's what he's brought in. And hence he also brings people from outside to kind of rejuvenate that energy as well. I mean, from my perspective, if you're looking at the Bulls, for example, bringing Akkers in, his record is not that great, right? But at the same time, then Akkers brings in an attack coach from high school. But I know Vickers said the guy has a nice CV and everything. But at the end of the day, we haven't seen anything prominent from the 2 coaches now that are there at the Blue Bulls. But if we had Jake White, we know what Jake White can bring. Either Jake White by himself, he can bring so much energy. He can bring in so much IP, because he's been there, he's done it. He's won a freaking World Cup rugby, right? So you know what you're getting from a Jake White perspective. And players fall in line, regardless of where he coaches. He will get players to fall in line. He also didn't make it by fluke. That first final against Dobbo, actually, in the first ever URC, and has made a few finals post that as well, right? That's the IP that you cannot take away from Jake, and he's won a World Cup. I don't know how well he did with Clermont when he was in France, but I mean, at the end of the day, you already know what you're gonna get out of him. Moving on, guys. Hugh, since you're still with us, Hugh Jones going to Toulon. I mean, nobody saw this one coming. I mean, were there murmurs? before this acquisition? Because I feel like it took everyone by surprise when it was mentioned this past week.
100%. There was no whispers of this anywhere. You know, I think in the sort of days before, there was rumours that Hugh Jones might be leaving Glasgow, but certainly him going to Toulon, that took everyone on the hop. There was nothing in the French press. There was nothing in the UK press about it. It's understood, right? So Tommaso Monicello, the Italy centre, he was for a long time being chased by Toulon. They made a long bid to try and get him to come to them. And then at the last minute, he switched and is going to go to Toulouse instead. Now, if you believe Toulouse fans, he's going to Toulouse for less money than he would have been on Toulon. I'm not sure I believe that, but they were planning to bring in a centre anyway. It was going to be Monicello, and it seems that they've switched and brought in Hugh Jones. But I guess it comes on to a bigger question now. We mentioned Franco, is that David Nucifora is now in charge in Scottish rugby, and he's really pushing to cut down the number of non-Scottish qualified players playing for the likes of Glasgow. I mean, if anybody's watched Glasgow games and seen the interviews after the games, it's literally a Safa and a Kiwi and an Australian in the post-match press conferences. So he's trying to cut that down. But Glasgow have now lost. They lost Tom Jordan last year. They've now lost Adam Hastings and Hugh Jones. So now Franco Smith is turning back to Nucifora saying, look, you want me to cut down the number of foreign players? Well, you're selling all my Scottish players. All my best Scottish players are leaving the club. So what do you want to do? Do you want to get in players who are capable of maintaining the level? Because Glasgow are going very well at the moment. So you're saying, do you want to maintain the level? Or do you want to just fill it with second-rate Scottish players? So that's kind of the biggest story here, is what did Glasgow do next with their recruitments?
Yeah, no, very big one. Very, very big one. I mean, the partnership that he had with Tuipolotu is now going to come to an end at the end of this season. I mean, how much impact, Jay, do you think this will have on Glasgow? Hugh has mentioned a few people that have departed as well. But now, I mean, Franco will be tested going forward to find a replacement for a player like Hugh Jones' caliber.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I mean, they don't have a bad replacement in the squad currently. They don't have a bad replacement. But if you're looking at it, I mean, Hugh Jones is, I would say, put my hand up and say he's been borderline world class this past 6 seasons. So, I mean, to replace him, obviously, you're not going to replace a guy like that overnight. And you would think also, that the standout player from last year, or the guy that, what can I say, every time he touched the ball, every time he had the impact play they had last year was Tom Jordan, him not being there as well. So it must be frustrating for Franco, especially what he was building there, especially, he was starting to get into that. How the next step for him was to be trying to get into the top 4, in the Champions Cup. That was the next step to establish him there. Glasgow as being a top 4 team. But yeah, it's a big, big loss for them. I don't know how, like I said, they don't have a bad squad replacement currently, but I mean, it's not in the class of Hugh Jones currently in school. Because I mean, before the British Lions team announced, we all said that Hugh Jones started at 13. He's a shoe in at 13. And it just shows, the way he's performed this past few years. I mean, we know him from when he still played for Western Province in the Currie Cup. That's when we seen him the first time in South Africa. So yeah, no, I'm a big Hugh Jones fan, and it will be very hard to replace this guy.
A False Bay product, huh? The big one, Vickers, the big one. This past week, news broke that Scott Razor Robertson has been culled, has been fired, has been removed as an All-Black coach. News all around the world talking about player revolt. So much had to be, what is this? Had to be unpacked for us to understand. News headlines all around the globe. The biggest news story in the history of rugby. The biggest news story in the history of rugby. First of all, Vickers, how did you receive the news? When you heard of the news, you must have thought, nah, this must be a joke. I must be seeing things right now. I must be hallucinating right now. Talk to me, Vickers.
At some point, I thought it's fake news. I think it's very difficult for coaches to get fired in January, where you haven't played for a month and a bit. So, in my opinion, I think there must have been some very heavy confrontation with his sporting, if I can call it, director or bosses within the NZ Rugby. So, because it wasn't. You remember, you fire coaches when they lose games. You don't fire coaches months after they've finished the campaign, if you can call it like that, which is end of the year tour. Now, for them to say, okay, they look at the end of the year tour, he has failed, so they're gonna fire him. But to do it in January, it's very strange, very very strange. I won't lie, it was a shock to me, but it's a very brave move by NZ Rugby. Because remember, New Zealand has come to South Africa this year. So basically what they're saying is that we want to go bring in someone new to come and work their way in within a couple of months to go to South Africa and win a series in South Africa. So whoever is coming in, the coach is gonna be in trouble. It's a matter of, I think, yeah, like we're talking about Scoop now. It's you guys were calling for it last year. I think you were calling for it. You're saying that I think it's time for him to go. And we all said in the group that nothing is working in his favor at the moment. So when this happened, I think all of us were like, wow. We didn't expect this kind of news, but you know what? I always talk about brave organizations and putting people, especially Razor was called by the people. You could say that he was the people's coach, because remember, he was the one the people wanted.
Yeah.
And now, when now he's failing, the organization is probably saying to themselves, yeah, this is exactly what we didn't want. So 2 years before the World Cup, in fact, not even 2 years, we're talking months now.
18 months.
18 months. Yeah, we're talking 18 months. Rassie won a World Cup after 18 months, so who knows?
Yeah, no, you need a lucky draw. You need to be playing Japan and Italy and Fiji in the quarterfinals and semifinals to get to win.
Yeah, so my World Cup, I'm trying to get to the World Cup. So I was talking to the missus, I was saying, hey, which game do we go for? Is it the quarterfinal? is it the semi-final? So it's rough. So now we just realized that actually that quarterfinal is not a bad idea.
Because they might not progress past the quarterfinal. Jade, as a big all-time New Zealander, I think over the past 2 years, past 2 seasons, we've covered the All Blacks on this podcast, on this space. We were happy. We were all happy when Razor Robertson was selected. We couldn't wait to get rid of Foz. That I will say without any hesitation. We couldn't wait to get rid of Foz because we couldn't see a change. For me personally, I think since 2017, it's been a downward spiral. Yes, they've been performing and catching and winning a game here and there, but it's been a downward spiral since that British and Irish Lions tour. Yes, they've won rugby championship, but it was not convincing. Post 2016, it was not convincing. I mean, 2016 they almost went unbeaten the whole season. Then 2017 British and Irish Lions tour, New Zealand and Gatland. Pulled one, against the All Blacks. They drew the last game. They lost the second test. They won the first test convincingly, but they couldn't put in a good performance in the second test in 2017. Struggled at the World Cup. Surprised by Eddie Jones in the semi-finals. 2019, obviously 2020 we got COVID, then 2021 things started unraveling, with Fozzie losing to Argentina for the first time. So it has been a downward spiral. I mean, even Ian Foster now has a worse win percentage, although he had more time and had been with the All Black camp since 2012, had a terrible win percentage as an All Black head coach. And then Razor at 74%, going back to the main topic, Razor with 74% win rate, right? David Kirk stood up there and he said it was a mutual after review, after getting all the information from players. They said there were over 20 players that had a review or feedback rather, and then they also had staff members, right? It's not just the players. There were people in that All Black staff that also had to write feedback, and obviously then calling in Razor and saying, hey man, look at this feedback, and as the board, this is what we think. What do you think? I'm assuming that's how the conversation went. And yeah, and they saw that there was no change. I mean, when we look at the product, Jade, on the field, actually, maybe give me your thoughts on Razor. We know he's a good person, but at the end of the day, professional sport is not looking for good people. They're looking for people that can deliver, unfortunately. Talk to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, we came from an era with Foster. It was absolute pathetic. It was poor. You've seen all-time lows. You see them lose against Argentina for the first time. You see them lose again the Test series against Ireland. You've seen them get walloped against Africa in Mubela, and then they turn it around in Ellis Park. And I think that's where Foster, he got the Jason Ryans and the Schmidts in. We will never know if that was his call or was it the NZRU that said, no, you have to take these guys. It was about Plumtree and Brad Moore. And we've seen, they progressed. I mean, as bad as Foster was, he was 1.2 points from winning the World Cup. He was one kick from winning the World Cup, one refereeing decision from winning the World Cup, So it just shows the standards that's set with New Zealand, and yet we call it a disaster period. We are saying, he shouldn't have got the job. We're looking at Razor, we're thinking, is this 4 years too late? Did Razor, what was Razor at the Flame of the Month 4 years ago? Or should he have brought him in, was it the right time now? Now, if you're going to win 7 Super Rugby championships, I don't care against who you're playing, I don't care what, it's still a big competition to win. And to win it in a row doesn't make, it should prove that you're a good coach. And whether you're coaching on the field or off the field, it proves that your system works for you at franchise rugby, right? So it proves that what Razor was doing at the Crusaders was working, because year after year, they were winning Super Rugby. And whether South Africa was in or out of it, they were winning Super Rugby. He was successful in New Zealand in the 20s. He was successful in the NPC with Canterbury as well. So we can't take that away from him. We can't say he's a bad coach. But when he came to the All Blacks, it just took long to ignite and for us to see what was his plan, where we were going. His first series he had against England, we gave him leniency. We said, okay, they got to learn, they got to get used to each other. They're bringing in his plans, he's bringing in new ideas, fresh ideas. He's got Scott Hansen, and he had Leon McDonald at the time, Jason Holland, and one Ryan around him. They've got a brain trust around him, and we'll see where they go. And in the year 2024, they lost 4 tests. And if you're looking at the 4 tests they lost against Argentina, and they lost against France away, a game they should have won, twice against South Africa. So that proves that, France and Africa are better than them. So they're still playing catch up to them. They came in 2025, played against France at home. We all saw the series. Nothing's changed. I don't see anything different from what we've seen with the All Blacks. Actually, they went backwards. I mean, he's been beating on this drum for a while. They've actually gone backwards. They struggled against France. They struggled to convince us, the public, the hungry public, that they were on the right path against France. They came against Argentina the first game. They were good. Second game, bad. Against South Africa. First game, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant at Eden Park. Second game, pathetic. So it seems that they've been a reaction team. And he had the chance to put everything behind him. All of this behind him. Take him on the Northern Hemisphere tour. Win that Grand Slam. Just win the Grand Slam. We're going to give you, it's going to go from a C season to maybe an A minus, B plus. We should be okay because you're building toward the world. But when they went on the Grand Slam, they beat Ireland the first game. Were lucky to beat Scotland the second game. Let's be honest. David McKenzie Magic at the end won it. And then they got absolutely outplayed, humiliated by England. Now, as much as we look at the Wellington test, and as much as we say, yes, was a big nail in his coffin, and I think we was the one that said it. That was the final nail in his coffin. I think the performance against England disgusted them more than the performance we, because we knew the box would move. And we knew that they had no answer. But the way they performed against England, the decisions they made, you could see it was out and out coaching. You could see they were taught to play like this. Then that was Razor, call for a review. Now, this is not new in New Zealand rugby. They've had a review in the past. They had a review with Henry, Hansen, and Smith when they were there. I think it was in 2009 when the Box beat them in 3 tests. They had a review. And the players indicated that these coaches should change roles. So Wayne Smith was the attack coach, went to defense. Hansen went on to attack. And that's just what they did, how they sorted it out. And they shuffled the pack. And they brought in a skills coach from Australian rules to help them with the eyeball. And they won the World Cup in 2011. They moved on to win the World Cup in 2014. So it worked for them. I did not expect Scoop. I did not expect them to fire Razor. I thought they would look at something similar, just change the backroom staff, same like they did with Smith, with Foster, change the backroom staff. So I know, and I heard it was on Martin Devlin's podcast on Monday. I listened to it, and it was Mark Watson that stated there that he's got inside information there. A top senior New Zealand player stated that if Scott Hansen does not go, then he's gone. He's not coming back. Now, this is why I'm seeing it. I'm seeing Ray, they must have said this to Razor as well. And Razor must have said, listen, but Scott Hansen's my man. He's been with me, because that's what you're going to do as a head coach. I'm not going to throw him under the bus. I'm still standing. We're a team, we're a collective team. And I entrusted Scott Hansen and put him in certain positions, in certain roles.
But then, Jade, wasn't that the same reason McDonald left? Isn't that the same reason Holland left? The same person.
I think that's true. So I think Razor must have fallen on that sword and said, well, me, this people going to get rid of Scott, get rid of me as well. And that's what Razor talked to them. I think that's what must have happened there. That must have you're on the ropes already. Cheers, goodbye,
Then Razor a week. Then he's weak.
Honestly, this is my gut feeling about this whole thing. I think there must have been a few coaches there that they said, this guy has to go, and Razor must have said, these are my guys. And Dirk must have said, because I'm reading the review and what was said in that review. Now, listen, Dave Dirk, Kevin Mayolamu, the guys sitting on that panel are not.
Yeah.
I mean, they are. If it was in the modern era, Dave Dirk would have played close to 100 games in New Zealand. He was a All Black captain. The same with Kevin Mayolamu, playing over 130 caps for the All Blacks.
He's a 2-time World Cup winner, man.
World Cup winner. He's got respect. Wherever he goes, he's got respect. So Africa, all around the world, he's got respect. So for me, I'm looking at that review team, I'm thinking they know the identity of all that. They all are what we call gaps, great All Blacks. They did not just speak to Ardie, they did not just speak to Rico and Jordy. They went back. They called guys like TJ Perenara and Sam Kane as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sam Kane mentioned in his statement that his phone has been ringing the whole time from All Black players and from management and from the Indian order asking for the ink. So it wasn't just overnight, they just called the players and had 5 or 6 players or 20 players. So they called a lot of players and they called players with experiences. One of the reviews that came back from one of the players stated that the first time in an All Black setup, right, that he sat after a loss, and they sat in the change room and the players could not say anything. The coaches give the review on Monday, but the players and the senior players are the guys speaking in the changing room, picking the guys up after. He says the first time the players were not allowed to say, which is the coaches. Now that was the changing culture, that was happening under Razor. So yeah, Razor, I mean, we've got to end up along there. But Razor
Yeah.
proved that there is a culture coach. He proved. I mean, it was given to him in 2024. He said he's a culture coach. He's a culture coach. I'm not sure if he's a hands-on coach. And at the moment, New Zealand needed a hands-on coach with the culture.
Oof. That was my next point, but let's let Vickers jump in and then we'll go into this hands-on business.
No, it's the question that I had is that where to from now for him? Because at the end of the day, you remember, once you get fired from a national team job, it's very difficult for you to bounce back. But also, on just to touch on what James spoke about, it's easy to coach any team with a culture like Crusaders. Because you remember you get it into a system that has already been created, which is why it was easy for coaches, not experienced coaches, to take over the Springbok Sevens team because they had a culture, right? So what we're talking about is that it's not difficult to take over a team without a culture, with the strong culture. It's very difficult to come into a team and you have to create your own culture. And I think that's where a lot of coaches miss it, is that you don't understand where to start because there's always the fundamental thing. Where do you start? And it's, for me, for example, I always talk about I always talk about a leadership. So I always bring in the leadership first. That's my first point. And then I bring in my staff. My staff must come and understand what I do. Those are the fundamentals of building a culture within the team. Now, he obviously arrived with the New Zealand team with a lot of people around, not from the Crusaders. All of a sudden, there's no Crusaders culture. So he has to bring in that culture. So that's the question: is how would he have built that culture if he was not aware of the situation? Was it the Crusaders was easy? And then, like I said, I was going to ask you guys, where do you guys think he's going now? Where to next? Because you cannot go to Provincial Rugby after this.
Oh, I think that's where he's going to go. That's definitely where he's going to go. I mean, at the moment, obviously, he can't go to any international or top tier one team at the moment. So I think he can go and coach Wales then and Italy. I'm joking. He's not allowed to coach any tier one team. So that's going to be the rest of this year. But I'm assuming from next year onwards, it would be a good thing for him to go overseas, go to the UK, go to Ireland, maybe a stint in France if possible, but like spend a year or a season out there where he has to start from scratch. But then going back to the hands-on approach that Jade mentioned earlier, because Vickers, I was going to bring this to you as well. I mean, my thinking, my thought process is, as a coach, as a head coach of anything, of rugby, let's speak about rugby, more relevant, you have to be a specialist in something. Looking at, for example, I would like to make Rassie Erasmus as a very good example. I mean, under AC, the Springboks probably lost a bit of culture once Heineke Meyer left. He took him to a semi-final in 2015, but in 2016, the Springboks looked in disarray, for example. Yes, Kutsia couldn't get the players that he wanted. Understandable. He had to start from scratch. And we could see that he had to rely on a lot of Lions players because the Lions were making Super Rugby finals at that time. And now these are new players coming into a new Springbok system under a new coach. So a culture situation there will be difficult because now you have to start from scratch, like right at the bottom. It's almost like rebuilding a Springbok brand from scratch, right? Alistair Kutsia, I don't know what his speciality was. I think under Jake White, he was attack and backline, if I'm not mistaken. But I think he also kind of moved away from that when he was with the Springboks. Hence, I go with Razor. I can't pinpoint to you what speciality he has. You know, is he a backline coach? Is he a forwards coach? Is he a breakdown coach? Is he an attack coach? Is he a defensive coach? I understand this whole is a culture coach, That means then
But-
you just go and talk to players individually at random times. But what is the speciality? Wouldn't you
No.
think it would be good for a coach or any experienced coach to have a speciality at something?
No, Scoop. I don't even think so. I mean, if you look at Jake White, what is his specialty? Jake is got no
Defense.
speciality. No, but he's a
But when he
man-
started, because but when he started, he was a defensive coach with the Springboks.
Yeah, but
That's what he was doing. And technical analyst in 95.
yes, it's not a problem if you get a coach that doesn't have a speciality. That's not a problem. As long as you can get people aligned with your ideas. So as a head coach, your ideas need to be driven by your staff members. Now, the problem with what we're talking about now is that we're trying to find a reason why he wasn't successful. I don't even think if you look at any head coach, they don't have to be hands-on. There's no need for a head coach to be hands-on. A head coach appoints people that he is going to push the game that they want to play. Now, if you are telling me that I'm appointing assistant coaches that are not up to standard, then it's me. It's on me. That means that my philosophy and my coaching thoughts are not good enough. So we cannot look at it and say, no, he needs to be a specialist. No, even a hands-on approach, I wouldn't agree with. When you are a head coach, you appoint people to push, and you are supposed to have the knowledge for the rugby that you want to play and push the game that you want to play. So if you are not getting the people that are giving you that job, then that means that the job is wrong. You have faith. So for me, for example, if we're talking now about Alice, he didn't have to pick the Lions players because they were making finals. He needed to build a team. And the only person, I mean, if we're being honest enough, there were two people that were playing for the Springboks that were, I think, were overseas. I think it was Dwayne Vermeulen at the time, and I think I'm not sure if it was Jan Serfontein or one of the centers was also overseas. So he had a full thing to pick from. The problem that he didn't do is that, first of all, he listened to fans. He didn't listen. He didn't understand. He listened to fans. Let's be honest, because the Casims were performing, the LT Yankees were performing. It was a third row.
Yeah, Kasim. Wow.
Yeah, Kasim started.
Wow.
Number 8.
He's got it.
We always spoke about. We didn't talk about the captain issue, because that is another issue that I felt he made a mistake. Is that you cannot give a captaincy to someone who is not who's in the same team as a captain
In Stormers.
in the Stormers. You can give it to someone else, not a guy who's in the same team. These two guys are in the same team, and he is the captain. So there are things that he didn't do right. So which is why I'm saying that these points are not they're not there's no correlation. But all I'm saying is that as a head coach, if you appoint coaches that you know they're gonna get you the job. You know, one thing that's very difficult is that coaches that don't appoint, but let's make an example, let's be blunt. You appoint a guy who's been coaching for 2 years as your assistant coach in the national team. Then when you start failing, you don't blame the guy. You say, no, we need to beef up this, beef up that. Those things matter. Because at the end of the day, the players know how long this guy has been coaching for. The players know. This guy doesn't know anything. They know that this guy doesn't know anything. And that's a sad reality.
Jeez. Okay. All right. No. Fair enough. I think my last thoughts with this Razor situation. I mean, I think Scott Robertson may have struggled to truly take ownership of this team. I think at times as well, it felt like he delegated more than actually coaching. So, hey, Scott, do this. Hey, Ryan, do that. Fundamentally, I mean, I believe that for players to respect you, you have to be excellent at something. For me personally, this is my personal view. You have to be excellent at something that can make players aware of, okay, well, we can take this seriously because he's got an idea of this, this, and this, and this, and once we implement this, we can see it working because it suits our style as players as well. There's a bit of respect in that, I think. Whether it's set piece, breakdown, like I said, defense, attack, whatever, man, own something. And I think the players may have sensed the lack of strong hands-on leadership now, because that you mentioned the part about our assistant coach has only 2 years. Once players can sense those type of things and they can see that you're leading us in the wrong direction, I think that's ultimately why things kind of unfolded the way they did. And I hope Robertson can take some serious lessons from this. Maybe this is a learning for him, because it could make him a better coach going forward. I mean, even now, if he can go overseas at club level, he can appoint the right guys and obviously channel the right information, and also just be hands-on while you're still channeling that information. I mean, he's not a bad person, like I said earlier, but the role may simply have been way too big for him at this stage. And he also got overwhelmed. I mean, some of his interviews, there were times where he had interviews where he lost against Argentina. He struggled to find words. Yes, it's an emotional situation, but he struggled to find words. That said, I mean, context matters as well. In a perfect world, he would still have this role as an All Black coach with 74% win rate. I mean, not many teams that can be considered in their worst form, quote unquote, would have a 74% win rate, would be number 2 in the world. I mean, when the Boks were down, there were like 6 or 7 in the world going into 2019 World Cup, for example, right? And you still had that kind of those kind of things to deal with. And then with another point, then Vickers and Jade, I want you to guys think about this one. Ardie Savea emerging as the face of this player revolt raises another big question as well. Do players have too much power in the modern game? Are there clear pros and cons, honest feedback, accountability, player welfare? I mean, Jade, what are your thoughts regarding this? I know David Kirk did say that, hey, they've had conversations with multiple players. It's not just Ardie Savea. But obviously, when you spoke about the Devlin interview with one of the pundits, they did say there was a threat on, if this is the situation, I'm not coming back. I mean, that's heavy, guys. I am not coming back to the setup. And then I saw him dancing with a TikTok England player in Dubai. So maybe he was in conversation with 360 at that time. But I mean, threats made by players, is that the situation we're in right now, similar to a Jake White situation? How much power should players have in situations like this?
Scary, eh? It's scary because I think it's the first time we've ever associated New Zealand rugby with us, and for you always expect him to be like Ardie Savea, especially you associate him being this humble, hardworking, guy, religious guy. You you think, it just shocked me that it came from him. Right? It just shocked me that it came that the rumors are that it's Ardie. Was he taking a stand for his brothers? Did he sacrifice himself for his brothers on the field? Maybe. Maybe he felt that way. In saying so, was it that bad, that toxic, that Ardie Savea, the guy that, he's gives everything out on the field, who led for the All Blacks, for the past how many years. Is it that he felt that, what, I've had enough, I've had enough. Obviously, we know that he feels that he should have been kept. I mean, Razor gave it to Scott Barrett, who had a close relationship with. I mean, I'm sure the next coaching comes in will look at making Ardie captain. Also, if it did happen, Scoop, and you're getting Kirk and senior interim officials denying it, that Ardie said this shows how much power he does have in New Zealand rugby. Now that's it's just something that it's scary and it's something we need to be cautious about, because also, if you read into it, the story was leaked in Ireland. It was the Irish media that leaked this. So who leaked the story in Ireland? Who's the New Zealand rugby player?
Rico Ioane's got blood on his hands.
And obviously, we know that Ardie and Rico Ioane and the Polynesian players
he's got blood on his hands.
They're all close, and they're always together.
Blood on his damn hands, Rico Ioane.
So,
I'm telling you.
Oh, it's really scary. But, for them now is what they need now, Scoop. They need somebody that's going to come in now and it's going to install discipline. Whether it is Jamie Joseph, Dave Winnie, Wayne Smith, whoever Junction, they have to come in and install discipline, and they have to be the law in their team. Old school, I am the law in this team. Like, it will go through me. That's what's going to have to happen now. The side shows has to stop. You have to get a coach in this. That's really going to look at everything, all of these side shows, all of these commercial. Oden Barrett going for an into or doing an advert 3 days after losing by 40 points in Wellington. Those stuff has to end. This just has to end. They have to get back to basics. I know it's a commercial aspect with all this. I know they're the biggest brand in terms of rugby and they have to live up to it. They have to make their money. But yeah, for me, that has to end. And Scoop, other thing that we didn't touch about. New Zealand rugby, we've been complaining about the cash flow at the moment. How much money did the sacking of Razor cost the union? How much money did the sacking all his assistants cost the union? And let's say they approach coaches. I mean, Dave Wading knows under contract. I know Tony Brown, Rassie came back and said, no, he's going nowhere. But should they approach him as well to sign a contract? To get these players, these coaches on contract. I don't know what Jamie Jones' situation. I think he is semi-contracted by the enter of him, so shouldn't so different. But how much money did it cost them to get these new coaches in now? So the damage that was done, from a financial aspect as well, in terms of New Zealand rugby, is huge. What is the budget? They don't have a CEO at the moment. So yeah, it's really it's
for me. No, for me, Jade, I mean, things like this, for any organization, I mean, look at Man United as a prime example. How many times or how many coaches have they gone through in a space of 10 years, right? I don't think these organizations obviously take that lightly, but at some point, you got to make a decision. You have to bite the bullet if things are not working. And you are going to lose money anyway if you're a losing organization. If the All Blacks continued losing in 2026, and they lose by dramatic fashion in South Africa in like a 4-0, 4-0 loss series. I mean, the All Black brand will still deteriorate in that sense. So what's the difference of keeping that guy and losing a lot of commercial value because you're losing so many times, right? I mean, there was so much put behind this Grand Slam tour, and just scraping past Scotland. I mean, those things are not also good for the brand either. The type of rugby you're playing, also not good for the brand either. At some point, a guy like a David Kirk, I know he's the chairman, he's not the CEO. They're still looking for a CEO, and apparently they're gonna sign someone up very closely. But someone needs to stand up, because if you realize, a lot of the people that appointed Scott Robertson in 2023 are all not there anymore. Every single one of them over the past year or two has left that office. What's his name left? The CEO left just now after the Grand Slam tour.
Mark
Robinson, So everyone who appointed Razor is no longer there. So the change and the cleanup is happening, and which is something that I think they really need, and get somebody who's going to put this ship in order with Kirk at the top right now, and anyone who comes in answering to him, they will be put in the straight and proper. And anyone who comes into this All Black coaching gig now will know that it is results driven. Don't care how you play, forget about excitement, results driven. 100% results driven.
Would you
And
look-
coming to South Africa, they need to come and win
Yeah.
the series.
Look, Scoop, I think when Jade was talking about the players' power and everything, guys, it's nothing new. Players always have power. I think if you realize as a head coach, is that you only keep your job because the players love you and they play for you and they want you to be successful and be their coach. So whenever the players don't recognize the coach, then you're gonna find things like this. So unfortunately, this is what happens. I mean, in rugby, it's not difficult. It's not like soccer, where you have to have a payout, where you have to pay a coach out. I don't think in rugby we do that. I think in rugby you cancel the contract, you offer the guy a 3-month salary, he takes the 3-month salary and he walks. Because at the end of the day, his salary, his contract would have been running till the end of 2027. And imagine you telling a coach, look, we cannot keep you till 2027. Then after the World Cup, you're gonna get fired. Imagine telling a guy 2 years before that this is what's gonna happen. No coach will accept that because obviously all coaches want to keep their jobs. So I don't think he would have cost them a lot of money. Especially now, probably paying 3 months. You wait till March, you appoint a coach in March, then you start paying a coach in April. So to come to South Africa. But I don't think it's going to be that much difficult in terms of that. But we can't say players have got too much power. No, it has always been that players have the power to fire and hire any coach. Now, the only difference is when you are happy with the system that the players are playing under, I promise you, the players will never go out behind the coach's back and get the coach fired. The reason why this is coming up now is because the players have recognized that, no, man, we're not happy with this system. And any organization that was not happy about their coach will always try to use the players. I promise you, any organization will always try to use the players so that they use the players as an scapegoat. But even the organization is not happy with you. Because if the players come back and say, no, we're not happy with the coach, but the organization is extremely happy with the coach is not going to go anywhere. But the organization is not happy with the coach.
And the players are not happy.
The players, they're trying to find an scapegoat using the players to say that the players are not happy. But the organization was not happy in the first place. And we spoke about it. We still say that Wellington test was the ultimate blow for me. Because remember, that is on home soil. Yes, the record is not good in Wellington for the team, but that is on home soil. If for example, so Springboks lost to Australia at Ellis Park. Now let's say the next test was in Pretoria and they lost that one as well. Now there would have never been, even if the organization was not happy, they would have never been able to fire the coach because the players were happy with the coach.
Even if they lost.
Even if they
two
lost
games in the high film.
Yes.
All right, Jade, final thoughts about this, and then we Investec Championship. This whole situation.
On my final thoughts, because I think don't want to go long about this, but I mean, a lot of people ask me, who's my pick on
Who's next? Yeah.
in life, and I mean myself, we've spoken about it. Tony Brown looks like he's not known in South Africa. We don't know. I've also read now that Tony Brown is in New Zealand. That people have seen him and Joseph and McCall. Whether they just get together or not. But I mean,
okay, wait, Jade, wait. Just to clarify, every January or December, We know Tony
Tony
Brown
Brown
is back.
goes, and Tony Brown was going to help
Yeah.
the Islanders.
And he's always helping in Otago.
In the town.
So every year he's been doing it. Nothing's changed in that regard.
He's there. He is in New Zealand. Rossi did state, that he's staying. So for that, now we take it that he's staying. So who's next? I would like to see somebody like a Schmidt or Rennie come back in with Jamie Joseph to get it.
Wait. Another one. The one with Schmidt is a bit tricky because his contract only ends in July.
Yeah, his contract ends in July.
So he's out of the question for me, unless he's going to start end of the year and helping someone out. But he's out of the question.
Yeah.
Who's available? Jamie Joseph, Dave Rennie.
But Dave Rennie is on the contract. He's in Japan.
Now you can buy him out. He's in Japan, man. Come on.
You can do this.
Seriously.
You can do this.
Would you rather coach in Japan or coach the Springboks? Head coach.
Yeah, there's no question.
No, but we still gonna buy him out. Yeah?
No, I think Jade. I think you are spot on. But guys, remember if Schmidt, his contract ends in July, he can cut it early because remember he's the one walking away from a job, so he's not being fired. So he can literally stand up today and say, "Guys, I don't want to coach Australia anymore. I'm done."
Yeah, the thing is with Schmidt, he's doing Australian rugby a favor until Les Kiss arrives. Right? So he's doing them a favor.
That's the thing. Les Kiss is not available until July.
That's their problem. That's their problem. Because I'm pretty much sure if they speak to Schmidt and Schmidt really wants to come up, we'll make it happen. I mean, he's not
but
Australia. He's not.
But my issue with Schmidt is that he always. I mean, since under Fozzie, he has this issue with his child or having to be in New Zealand. Yeah, man, he hasn't been consistent for me, unfortunately. 1 minute he was in the background, next minute he's coming into the team, next minute he can't be in the team. For me, it's just too inconsistent, and I don't mind him as a coach, but also I think he would be a better assistant coach in this situation. For me. I don't see him fully committing to New Zealand rugby.
For me, Scoop, it's very simple. I think the best coach who can take New Zealand forward is actually Dave Rennie. I know
100%.
I know Jamie Joseph is around the corner, but guys, the one thing that with Jamie is that remember when you are coaching a Japan team that is motivated, that you are motivating and giving new things. It's different than when you coach a team that knows exactly what they need to do. So for me, the best person for this job is Dave Rennie, because what Dave Rennie did with the Wallabies, out of
100%.
all those injuries, and he still was not.
He had 50 players out.
Yes, he was still not bad. I think he'll be the best person. And the only reason I would say this is because remember, he's had a stint in Australia, which is we call always down under. He's had a stint down under, so he knows exactly. Imagine how you give him all the pool of those players from New Zealand. He's gonna make something special. But will is he in favor with the board? That is the question. Because if he's not in favor, then
The thing is Rennie has a good relationship with Wayne Smith as well. So for me, he can always also.
And Jamie Joseph. Literally.
Yeah.
They used to work together in the academy.
They work together in the academy. So, I mean, there's option there. I mean, surely they can get another Hansen, Foster. I mean, Hansen, Henry, and.
Take all three. For me, take all three. Dave Rennie is the head coach. Jamie Joseph can be your defense. Wayne Smith can be your attack. I know Dave Rennie also specializes in attack. And then forwards coach Ryan stays in. But I think bring in Mike Cron. Bring in Mike Cron just to assist Dave Ryan.
Ryan goes with Ryan.
You want him to go as well?
Goes with Ryan. First 2 years, he hasn't done anything. But he's student for the pack of forms that he does have. He goes.
Jade, that's why I'm saying bring in Mike Cron to assist him because he needs that IP. He's still too junior.
He's too arrogant. The way he works with Mike Cron, he's too arrogant. Jason Ryan is too arrogant to work with Mike Cron. Mike Cron's the only one that can match Dan Newman at the moment in terms of brain and IP. So you're going to have to get him right. Because you're going to play against the Box next year. I'm telling you what, the Box are targeting.
No, 6 months time. Not even next year.
Listen, if you're playing against the Box, The Boks are looking at every test. Okay, we can scrum minimum 10 times here. I want 17. That's what they're going to do. And Micron's the only one that can help them.
Well, then bring in, what's his name? Owen Franks from Japan as well.
Good work.
Because clearly
Good work.
everyone is based in Japan right now, unfortunately. But yeah, I also believe Dave Rennie and work with Jamie Joseph. Wayne Smith, if he's available to come and assist, bring him in as well. I mean, you cannot go wrong with such IP and with that template. You literally cannot go wrong. There's guys that lead with authority. They take ownership and accountability. Those guys have done it at international level, so they understand what is at stake. And I think them just bouncing off ideas of each other would be for the better of New Zealand rugby. And if Dave Kirk and his board are serious, do everything you can to bring Dave Rennie in. He's a person that can really put a nice plaster on top of the scab and actually make sure we go into the right direction. And maybe even a better World Cup campaign. He might not do, let's say he doesn't do well this year, but he gets an understanding of what those players are about. He gets to put in his resources behind this group, and also you'll get us Ardie Savea as your captain, and we move forward. Maybe that might bring a better performance on a Scott Barrett as well, and also give the new talent a bit of a run against the toughest opponents. I mean, the guys like Ruben Love, we need somebody like that at 10. I mean, Ruben Love has been under Razor for 2 seasons. He only has 2 matches, 2 internationals. I mean, that's also one of the other things. I'm sure they asked Ruben Love on that review for feedback. I wouldn't put it past them. Anyway, let's move ahead, gents. Jade, Stormers. Stormers. They really struggled yesterday against the Tigers. But obviously, we understand that Willemse was not available, Geland was not available, Sasha was probably under pressure to be the only playmaker in the team. Not a really good, convincing performance when they were playing at home, but even Ross keeps showing up every weekend, man. Quite impressed by him. And I know from relevant sources that he's never going to be a Springbok. He's never going to be a Springbok. Although things were said online, but he's never going to be picked as a Springbok ever again under this regime. So until 2031, he's not going to be wearing the green and gold. I see he's also extended his contract as well. He's going to be staying there for quite some time. But looking at the Stormers, do you think they have a relevant chance in this Investec Championship? We know how well they're doing at URC, but for now, it's just a focus on Investec Championship. Your thoughts on this team for these past couple of weeks?
I think that they've got the potential to go deep into the tournament. Maybe semi-finals is their ceiling. I think the focus for the year is the URC. For me, it's just when you're looking at Bordeaux, Toulouse, looking at those teams, they're still the top 2 for me. So it's going to be very difficult for them. I don't think they have the squad that you can be dominant in 2 competitions. Yeah, they have the squad to compete in 2, but the squad to win both will be very, 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 very difficult. If we're looking at what they do here. But on the other hand, is you see that guys like yesterday, I picked this guy's name, De Villiers, Paul De Villiers at open side. I mean, he's putting up his hand this season. You see the props coming through, the young props coming through. We see, what's this guy, Charlie Schiffling playing good rugby again, but he hasn't this day. So they have, guys, squad guys that when the likes of like yesterday, like Damien and Geland and are not there, they have guys not putting up their hand playing, really playing good rugby. However, I don't think they have the class to win both, That's the difference. I don't think they have the class to go deep into both. I think the target for the year will be the URC and to go into semi-finals and go deep into its competition. And once they reach the quarterfinals, they'll say, okay, every round, extra round is a bonus for us. That's what double attitude is. But the URC will be his main focus. But they're not doing too bad this season. Only lost 1 game so far this season. They're proving that, they really up there. I mean, he always stating there that, Leinster will be in the top 4 of this competition. However, the Stormers at the moment have been far better rugby than Leinster.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, if they go past the round of 16 and go to a quarterfinal, I think they've got a better chance of hosting a quarterfinal here in Cape Town. The one round at home for last 16, a round for quarterfinals at home, then travel for depending on what happens, right? I mean, if a team that is lower than them loses a semi-final, wins a semi-final, they get to host a semi-final at home. It could be a good run for them. I mean, probably Dobo, if they can do that, he will probably put out his first team. And yeah, but then it'll be a struggle now to try and maintain good performances of the first team playing both Investec and URC. I think that's where the trouble starts coming through in situations like that. But I mean, if they're playing like bottom tier team at home, like your Dragons and Blue Bulls and stuff like that, they can put out a C team against the Blue Bulls definitely and the Lions, so it would be fine for them. Vickers, have you seen the Stormers in the past couple of weeks in this competition, and what are your thoughts about them doing well?
Look, Jade said they lost one game, but they didn't just lose the game; they got pumped. Hey, God.
It was a B team. It was a B team.
No, look, Scoop. It wasn't their B team, guys. I think that's where we need to be honest. It was not the right combinations on the field. But your Juvenile House was there, your Evan Ross was there, so I don't think, for me, I think what they're trying to do at the moment is balance out a team and with their star players. But I wouldn't do that because look, we've seen it with the Leinster. Leinster have gone a full season trying to balance out the two, and then they lose in the final of the Investec Championship. And then by the time they're trying to recover for the URC, it's already too late.
Too late.
So that's the problem, is that I think Dobo must just say, look, when we won the URC the first year, let's go and do that first, establish ourselves, because now we know that they last year they obviously were, I think they lost to the Bulls, I think, in the semi, in the quarterfinal. Let's go and win this tournament again. Then we can start to talk about the Investec Championship. But if you won the championship the first year, and then you obviously the second year they lost in the final to Munster. The third year they lost to they didn't even make the quarters, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And then the fourth year, I think they were in they lost to in the quarters. So for me, the most important is that they must decide. If this is the URC, they go URC. But you cannot go try balance both, because if they try to balance both, they're going to do exactly what Leinster was doing, and they're going to lose both tournaments just like that. So you pick your.
And also the Investec one is very short, no?
Yes, it's very short. It's very short. It's not a season. When did it start? It started in December. The first round of games, I think, was in end of November, December. Then all of a sudden we're pushing towards, but then,
playoffs.
Yeah, then leave the tournament. Don't worry about the tournament. The most important for South African teams is to make sure that you're winning the URC. Yes, we're going to get traction now because the Six Nations is coming up. We're going to get a lot of traction. Now, it's that time when you need to capitalize even more. Because if you look at the forwards that played this weekend, in fact, from 10 to 1 this weekend, if we're counting backwards, that's their main pack. That's their main players. Yes, Stefan Ungra.
Some combinations.
Maybe Stefan Ungra is not the starting. It's Reina starting, but he was. Stefan Ungra was always there on the bench or supporting. So for me, I don't think we look at that and say, no, this was a B team. No, I think what the Stormers need to do, they just need to decide: are we going to focus on the URC? Because if we're going to focus on the URC, then let everyone else play the Investec Championship, because it's a very short tournament, like you said, Scoop, and everyone wants it.
Yeah.
Maybe once. Maybe once you win the URC and get that money, or the prize money, whatever they get, then maybe you can sign more players. Then now,
and also players from overseas now can come over, right?
Exactly. Then now you can focus on both tournaments. But for now, with the squad they have, I mean, we discussed it, I think, last season. With the squad they have now, currently, they're good enough to survive in the URC and even make the home semi-final at the moment. But when they start focusing on too many things, that's where they're going to miss the point. That's where they're going to miss the boat.
Okay, no, fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Jade, we've got Clayton McMillan 0-4. Started off like a house on fire, getting praises left, right, and center. But I think looking at Munster as a club, as an organization at the moment, they don't have the kettle. They don't have the kettle, and they don't have they've got a foundation, but I mean, the players that are coming through the system, probably not as experienced, because I mean, I've seen some old heads that have been following Munster on Twitter saying that Munster is losing that grunt, is losing that battle, is losing that hardness of that Munster are known for. I mean, I think we saw that against, or when Munster were under Roundtree. They really fought hard, but they also had the players. You know, I mean, the Murrays were still playing. The what's the other guy's name again? Former Irish captain. He was also still playing. You know, they had a really good team, like from 9 to 10. They had leadership, but now it feels like Clayton McMillan might have started off like a house on fire, but now they're not losing by like 20 to 30 points. I mean, it's very close games, very close scoreboards as well. You know, it's by 2 or 3 points, by 2 points here, 1 point here. It's not massively bad, but they just can't get over the line. And it's 4 games in a row now. How do you get back into the hearts of the Irish fans at the moment? Because also, all these Irish players, experienced players, are also getting old as well. If you see a lot of the guys that are playing for Munster, but if you also look at some of the guys that are playing for Leinster are no longer starting the important games as well. But yeah, there's a problem. There's a trajectory that's leading in that direction right now, where they need a lot of experience or a lot of youth coming through and giving them game time. I mean, how can Clayton McMillan bring the ship back now for Munster?
It's going to be difficult because, I mean, he really experienced what you call a new manager bounce, a new coach bounce, you know. But don't say new manager bounce, but a new coach bounce. We came in and we saw what the Terran's team, we saw team performing well, so that, you know, getting up going jobs in Leinster, you know, they've been good. They were good in the start, and then all of a sudden, he had a few injuries. You know, he realized that squad depth is not there for not what he expected. Also got players closer. You can see that, you know, there's a tip off between certain players. A certain positions. There's a drop off when certain players are out, like for example Nash and go with the back line. You know, there's a big difference. So for him now, he's just going to continue to work with the squad this year. Set no expectations really. I think just making the players in the UFC, trying to go as far as you can there. But in terms of winning silverware, in terms of, you know, competing with Leinster stuff, I don't think realistically they can. I don't think they are contending for the UFC at the moment. They should, you know, make players, and they should from there take it game for game. But I don't think they'll get a semi. So it's a bit difficult for them. It's good, you know, to really get some silverware this season. That's the UFC, the Champions Cup. We know that. So for Clayton, he's just got to build on the season and see where he lacks and see where he can identify talent. Lucky for him, he's got an eye in New Zealand rugby. Yeah, we can scout a few players in the bit. We can scout a few players in South Africa as well, or Australia, to fill that gap. I'm not sure what their financial situation looks like. So he's got to go in and scout a few players where he's short. So because he knows also, once you burn, with the likes of the Crawley, all of them leaves now in the Six Nations as well. I know they don't play a lot of games, but they're still that. You know, he loses different players now in the Six Nations, so his quality was cut short. Or when they do return after the Six Nations. And so for him, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult really to win something this season. I think for him, it's just to set realistic goals, which I think he need, and to work in the squad and head on to it next year.
Fair. Vickers, looking at the Blue Bulls winning their first game with the help of Carl Dixon in that last minute try. But I mean, do you think this is now what they needed as an organization to change the direction of losing 7 in a row? I mean, what is it that they need? Because they've got the kettle, they've got the players, they've spent a lot of money under Jake White. But I mean, to lose 7 in a row is not easy, and to also just beat Pau, who I don't think are a very strong team. Now you have to travel to, where is it? Northampton or La Rochelle for the playoff. Oof, come on. I mean, how can the Blue Bulls change their shit as a coach? What do you think they need to do?
Look, at this point, we're going to talk about Ackerman's being first year. So that's all that conversation is also going to come up in terms of his first season. He's trying to find his feet as well. So I think we discussed it 2 weeks ago in the space where I said it depends on the organization of what they would want for for um for the Bulls. And I think at this point, yes, they did get a win, which is good for them. But I think the conversation we need to have is that, are they still trying to make playoffs, or are they conceding that they lost out the season and they're using the building year?
Yeah, building with those players, Jade, with that Springbok lineup. Do they still need to build the Blue Bulls? It's impossible.
I don't think so. I don't think they're building. I think because it's results oriented this season. Because if I check White, I think his point is got to get results. I don't think you can say building is going to build in certain aspects because, yeah, you want somebody to take his team to the next level. That's what initially they did hire. So I don't think we can say, but you just building, but you have to give him time. Like we'll see that. We'll have to give him some.
Time to lose, yeah, that's how much time they're giving him. Time to lose more games. And Vickers looking at the Sharks, obviously with the convincing win, but obviously too late for them right now in the Investec Championship. I don't think they're also going, or are they still going to the EPCR Challenge Cup, or they stuck now with URC, I think. But anyway, looking at JP, what he's done since he's come in, nothing changed from my perspective. From when I look at the Sharks, when Plumtree was there, and JP now has had, he's had what, a month roughly with this crop of players. Nothing has changed for me, and I think for JP to maybe insert his philosophy, they need to get rid of a lot of players in that group and start afresh. From my perspective, because nothing's changed from a Sharks perspective when it comes to all these competitions, be it Investec, be it URC. It's always the same or similar performances, even when they lost against the Lions. I mean, in that fashion, last minute, they really didn't need to lose that game. But also now they've won convincingly. That gives JP a bit of a reprieve at this point. I mean, he's doing better than Ackerman when it comes to results, but I think it's still the same thing from both teams, Sharks and the Blue Bulls. I mean, what do you take of JP and his current situation with the Sharks? Because
I think it's always going to be difficult, Scoop, because the one thing that we're talking about now is that you are saying that the Sharks basically still the same issues. You never, when you fire a head coach and you keep all his assistants, then what are you changing? You're basically not changing anything. So my question would be, why were not the assistant coaches also let go? Because at the end of the day, that is the true reflection of changing the system. Because now you still got the same guys doing the same roles, same jobs, everything. So it doesn't really matter. So we're not surprised by the performance of the team. But for me, I don't think they would have fired Plumtree based on main management, because he's a very good guy. I think they would have fired Plumtree because of results. Now you're firing a head coach, but then you're keeping all his assistants. So that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. So, and unless they will find him for main management, because honestly, I don't think they fired him for main management, which is different to obviously the Bulls, as we know. But I don't think they fired him for main management. I think they fired him because of results. They couldn't get the results, but then you keep in the same assistant. It doesn't make sense. Like, how did you get to that conclusion? That this person needs to go so that this team will start winning. You know what I mean? So,
No,
but I don't know.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Jade, your thoughts, and then we wrap it up.
Yeah, I agree with Will there in terms of what I see of plumbing and JP. So, but I guess with the shock, you just have to wait and see who's next. I think everyone's just waiting to see who's next in line there. Next year. And that's the important thing. With JP, he can only come as much as he can with this team scoop, because I don't think he'll be on clear. So for him, he can only do it as he can. But yeah, I think that for sure, you have to see who they will next.
Playing musical chairs with that coaching role, eh?
By the way, Razor is available now. The Sharks really
No.
Razor.
Yes, actually. Yes, that is true. That would be a good one, eh? And I think the Sharks have the money for things like this. Also, they sold Sia. So, does it work the same in rugby as in football?
It's not the same. Sia's contract is coming to an end. He just decided not to sign, not to extend his contract.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, it would be nice if it did actually, where players can be sold and clubs get to have money, But yeah, we'll see. Nonetheless, guys, we're supposed to.
That happens if we have green grass in Kimberley with all the Griquas players.
Hey, also, I'm quite disappointed at the fact that the head South African coach of the year situation, they didn't get the Griquas guy was not nominated, which is weird. Everyone from either women's box, Rassie Rasmus, Sevens, Blitz Pocker, and I'm like, where's the guy from Griquas, man? He won a Curry Cup in Ellis Park, for crying out loud. Anyway, that should be a coach of the year in my books. I mean, Rassi, we already know what he can do. So I mean, it goes without say. And maybe a brain because of what he did with the women. Fair enough. But I mean, give that guy his flowers as well, right, for what he's done. But nonetheless, guys, we're gonna do Super Rugby preview. We're gonna do Six Nations preview. But I think it'll be best we do that next week, at least for now. By next week, we should know who's in the running for that All Black job. At least for now, next weekend, Super Rugby warm-up matches are being played all over the weekend. For now, and then we should see some squads coming out for Six Nations next week, which will give us a good preview to see who's up. The Irish, I think they're going to struggle this year in this competition, but England, keep an eye on them. I called them last year. I'll call them again for this year. It'll be between France and England again this season. But guys, thank you very much, Jade. Thank you to Hugh as well for earlier on. Thanks, Vickers, and thanks to all the listeners. We've tried to cut it short or navigate between the 90th minute mark. I think that's what we've achieved. And yeah, thank you guys for listening in and very good conversation. We've broken it down. We've broken it nicely. This is the Rugby Scoop. Great week, great Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your evening. There's Harlequins with La Rochelle playing. There's Glasgow Saracens at 6:30. Important game. Beautiful. Cheers, lads. Have a good evening.
Cheers, fellas. Cheers.